In this video tutorial, you will create your first Blazor app from scratch, without using Blazor template in VS. This will help you to understand how different files work together in Blazor. You are going to love this approach, so be with this video till the end. Open Visual Studio. Select Create a new project. Then select the option called ASP.NET Core Web Application. Next, give your app some name, and select its location in the drive. I have named this app as Blazor First App. Now on the Create a new ASP.NET Core Web Application window, select the following three things. 1. .NET Core. 2. ASP.NET Core 5.0. 3. ASP.NET Core Empty. Click the Create button to create your app. It hardly takes a few seconds time. If you see the Solution Explorer window, you will notice there are only a few files. We will have to create them one by one, and I will explain how each of them will work. Now open the startup.cs file and check its codes. You will notice these are very few, and we will have to add the necessary configuration codes in this file. Now configuring the application for Blazor Server. The first step is to add the services and middleware to the startup class. Start by adding services.add.razor pages inside the configure services method. It is needed since Blazor needs Razor pages support to work. Next, add services.add server-side Blazor inside the configure services method. This adds server-side Blazor services to the service collection. Now add some other necessary settings needed for ASP.NET Core. Finally, add endpoints.map Blazor Hub inside the app.useEndpoints method of the configure method. This integrates the Blazor with ASP.NET Core endpoint routing. This will also let Signal R, which is the part of ASP.NET Core that handles the persistent HTTP request, to work properly. Components are building blocks of any Blazor app. In your screen you are seeing a Blazor component by the name of Count.razor. The components are implemented in Razor component files having a .razor extension. In Razor component you write your Blazor codes. They contain HTML and C# and uses the familiar Razor syntax. A code block denoted by @code, where C# codes like functions, events, delegates, etc. are put. Some important components are _imports.razor, app.razor, router, and so on. Let us use them in our app and see what they offer. Blazor Imports file, which has a name _imports.razor, let you to import commonly used namespaces at one place so that you don't have to import them separately on each Blazor component that needs them. Let us add it to our app's root folder. Right-click on the project name in Solution Explorer and select Add, then, New Item. In the file list, select Razor component and name it as _imports.razor. It will be created and will be empty. In this file, add the two code lines, which are using Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.Components.Routing. It imports routing feature. Using Blazor First App.Shared. This imports the contents of shared folder. Shared folder is where we keep common files that are used throughout the app. Shared folder is kept right inside the app's root folder. So create shared folder on the root of the application. It will show a compile time error. Don't worry. When we will add components under this folder, then this compile time error will be gone. Note that the .NET will include the directives specified in the Blazor Imports file for all Razor components that lie in the same folder or any of its subfolders. This is the reason why I kept the _imports.razor on the root folder of the app, because in this way each and every Razor components of the app will include the directives specified in the Blazor Imports file. You can also specify layouts in the Blazor Imports file for Razor component. For example, by adding this line of code. At layout my layout on the _imports.razor file, all of the components will use my layout as their layout. I will take the Blazor layout topic in just a moment, so be with this tutorial. App.razor file is Blazor's router component. It is needed so that Blazor responds to changes in the URL by displaying the corresponding Razor components. To get started, add a new Razor component on the application's root folder and call it App.razor. First add router node, and add attribute AppAssembly. Give it the value at type of startup.assembly. The app assembly should be provided with the name of the current assembly, which in most cases is startup.assembly. Then close the router node. Inside the router node we will add found and not found sections. In the found section we provide the contents to display when the match to the requested route, that is URL, is found. So add the found section and add context attribute to root data. Then add root view node inside it. Set root data attribute to @root data and default layout to @type of main layout, and close the found section. Let me explain this code to you. The root view populates the matching component's contents inside the default layout. I have defined this layout to be main layout in this case. Layout basically contains the common areas of the app like the header and footer of the website. In the Not Found section, provide the contents to display when no match is found for the requested route. Add it like what I am doing right now. Here we are just calling the same layout that is main layout with a sorry message, and it is shown in case of no matching for the routes. You can use a different layout for the Not Found section, if you wish to. In case if we are using a standalone Blazor app, like in our case where there are only Blazor components and no MVC views or Razor pages, then we have to use a fallback route which will call a Razor page by the name of _host.cshtml. The fallback route has a very low priority in routing matching, and so this route is initiated when other routes didn't match. Because of this, we can now also add ASP.NET Core MVC views and Razor pages in our Blazor app, if we wish to, and they will not interfere with the Blazor server components. To create a fallback route, go to the startup.cs file and add endpoints.map fallback to page /_host inside the app use endpoints. Next, create a new Razor view called _host.cshtml inside the pages folder of your app. Here you add an HTML page with Razor markup. First specify the URL of this component by using @page directive. Next import the tag helper in the component. Then specify that this component will not have a parent layout. This is done by putting layout equals null. Now coming to the main part. Here call the Blazor router component which is defined by the App.razor file. So add the below code inside the HTML body tag. Component type equals type of Blazor first app.app, render mode equals server prerendered /. The type attribute specify the App.razor component, and this is done by type of Blazor first app.app. The render mode attribute specifies how the App.razor will be rendered. I have set it to server prerendered. It tells to render the component into static HTML and includes a marker for a Blazor server-side application. The HTML content of the component is sent again over the persistent HTTP connection. Next, define the script element to specify the name of the JavaScript file that establishes the signal connection with the server. This JavaScript file is blazor.server.js. Note that you don't have to add this JavaScript file to the project. The code is script src equals _framework /blazor.server.js/script. Common areas of a website or app, like header and footer, remain same throughout the app or website. We normally keep logos, copyright text, navigation menu, etc. on the header and footer. These common things are kept in layout files. We keep layouts inside the shared folder of the app. So create shared folder inside the root folder of the app. Next, inside this shared folder, create a new Razor component called main layout.razor. The reason I specifically named this layout file as main layout.razor is because in the App.razor file, I had defined this name as the name of the layout file. Also notice that since I have created the shared folder and main layout file, so all the compile time errors are automatically resolved. Now coming to the main layout.razor file. First you need to inherit the layout component base. This is done by adding @inherits layout component base. Next add the header and footer of the app. I use HTML header and footer tags to do this. Inside the header I add a nav HTML tag with some links. Then add the @body. It specifies the location in the layout where the component's content is rendered. This means if the URL calls a component called products.razor, then @body will show the products.razor contents there. Finally add the footer HTML tag and a copyright text inside it. Congratulations! All the necessary Blazor setup for the app is done now. Basically, this means, when the component is rendered on the browser, then, first the fallback route, which is _host.cshtml, is called. Note that it forms the top-level HTML tags of the HTML page like doc type, head, body, etc. Next, from the _host.cshtml, the Blazor router component, which is App.razor, is called. This in turn will call the default layout called main layout.razor. The default layout will form the header and footer sections of the HTML page. Inside the header and footer sections the component's code will show. Now I will create a new simple Blazor component which just shows a simple hello message. Right-click on the Pages folder and create a new Razor component file and name it index.razor. Add the following codes. At page/, it declares the URL of this component, which will be the root URL of the app. In my case it is https://localhost 44381/. The port may be different in your case. Next add an h1 tag with a hello text. After this add a paragraph tag with the text, "Welcome to your new app." Now run the project and see how our component looks in the browser. Very well, the component just ran in the browser and this shows our app is working perfectly fine. Note that you can use more than one URL for the component. Add at page/welcome. Save the file by pressing Ctrl+S. Then run the app. Now add /welcome in the URL of the browser and press Enter. You can see our component gets called from this URL too. The component design is just a basic one. It's time to create a good-looking design for this component. This we can do by using Bootstrap, and this is the next topic. Bootstrap is a CSS framework that is used to make excellent good-looking user interfaces. I will use it to design my components. So first add the Bootstrap package to the app. This can be done by using libman. Libman is a tool in Visual Studio. First create www root folder on the root of the app. Then right-click the www root folder and select Add Client-Side Library. In the library text box enter Bootstrap and you will see Twitter Bootstrap option. Select it. Change the target location to www.root/lib/bootstrap, and click the Install button. Bootstrap will be added to the app in a few seconds' time. Now let us integrate Bootstrap. Open _host.css.html file, and drag bootstrap.min CSS file from Solution Explorer window, to inside the HTML head tag. This add the link to the Bootstrap CSS. Next put the component section inside a div that has CSS classes as m-1 and p-1. These CSS classes are provided by Bootstrap. Now open the main layout.razor file. Here give the header tag class as bg-dark, text-white. These are also Bootstrap classes. Give the nav tag the Bootstrap class called text-center. Put the @body directive inside a div having CSS class called p-4. And for the footer tag, give the CSS class called bg-success. Finally coming to the index.razor file, here give the h1 tag the CSS classes called bg-info text white. Congrats! The Bootstrap integration part is done. Now run your app once more and see how good the design is made with the help of Bootstrap. So far we made only simple components that do not do anything except showing some text on the screen. Now we will make a much more advanced feature that will be based on interactions. This feature will be using event handling, so we need to import the namespace called microsoft.aspnetcore.components.web, in the _imports.razor file. By the way, its full code is provided in the link given on the description, so check it out. Now go to index.razor file. Here first add an HTML table that will show two columns which are name and city. Inside the tBody element add a for each loop that will loop through people list object, and fetch out the name and city values from it. The people list contains a collection of people object in a list type variable. So inside the @code block define a people class and define people list object like what I am doing. I am adding 7 people to the people list object. Now run your app and see how this feature looks. Great, this part is done. Next, I will be adding interactions to it. I will create a select tag and bind it with different cities. Define an enumerable string type variable called cities and use link query to get distinct cities from people list object. Now add select tag and bind its options with the values of different cities which I get in the cities variable. I am using the for each loop to create the options. Run your app and see how the select tag looks. Note that it does not do anything. This thing I am going to do it next. When a city is selected in the select control, then the persons who resides in that city should be highlighted. A mechanism should be made so that the background color of the corresponding rows in the HTML table is changed. In order to do, add a string type property and call it selected city. Then add a bind event in the select control. This bind event calls the selected city property. Then add selected attribute to the option, and set its value to @city == selected city. With this feature I will now know the selected city value of the select tag. Finally, I now have to make a C# function that will check the city of the HTML table row and the city value that is selected by the select control. This is done during the time when the HTML table is undergoing binding. I am adding a C# function by the name of getCSS to do this thing. It will return Bootstrap classes bg-info and text-white. At the last, apply class attribute to the tr element and call this function from there. Run the app for the last time and check this functionality. It works perfectly. Congratulations, you have learned a lot in this long tutorial. I hope you enjoyed. Give a like to this video and share it with your friends. Do subscribe our channel as we will be releasing another very good Blazor tutorial soon.